In this lesson, I'm going to be going over the quadratics test, question per question. So the very first question is, you have to find the inverse. Now remember, with the inverse, you flip the x into y, then you solve back for the y. So we're going to start off with x equals 7y plus 18 over 2. And all we're going to do is we're going to isolate this y. It's only 3 steps. The very first step is multiply both sides by 2. Second step, you have 2x equals 7y plus 18. Second step is subtract 18 from both sides to get 2x minus 18 equals 7y. Third step is divide all 3 sides by 7. So you have inverse of f of x equals, see how the y is all gone, 2/7 x minus 18 over 7. This is the answer for number 1. This for the very first one. Now, the one below it, I'm going to flip the x into y. I'm going to solve back for the y. So I have x equals negative y plus 3. There's only 2 steps involved. Very first step is we are subtracting 3 from both sides to get negative y equals x minus 3. Now we're going to divide by negative 1 to get rid of that. But we have to divide each one of these by negative 1. So I'm going to have y, or let's just say inverse of f of x equals x divided by negative 1 is negative x. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. Okay, the third one, very similar to this. I'm going to flip the x into y. X equals y plus 3, and there's only one step. I'm going to minus 3 on both sides to get inverse of f of x, which is the y, equals x minus 3. That's your answer. For the last one, I'm going to flip the x into y, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So I'm going to get inverse of f of x equals, the y is all by itself, is 1/4 x. Or you could have just wrote x over 4. Either one of those would be fine. Okay. Now it says solve each equation with the quadratic formula. But I told you when you were taking this, if you wanted to solve by factoring, if you could, you're more than welcome to do that. So I'm going to start off with the very first question. M squared minus 5m minus 14 equals 0. I can factor this because I can find two numbers that multiply together to get negative 14, add together to get negative 5, which is negative 7 times a positive 2. If I set m minus 7 equal to 0, and if I set m plus 2 equals 0, I get two answers, a positive 7 and a negative 2. That's the answer for the first one. All right, the second one, I have b squared minus 4b plus 4 equals 0. I can factor this. Two numbers that multiply together to get positive 4, add together to get negative 4 are negative 2 and negative 2. Both of these are the same, so if I just set one of those equal to 0, I'm going to get 2. There is my second answer. All right, let's do number 3, or the third one. I have 2m squared plus 2m minus 12. What I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to divide every single term by 2. So the way I have to show that is I have to put a parenthesis. 2 divided by 2 is just m squared. 2 divided by 2 is just m. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. 0 divided by 2 is 0. And then look at this really simple equation. I have two numbers that multiply together to get -6, add together to get +1 is a +3 and a -2. And then there is no variable outside right here. Since there's no variable, we don't even need it. We can just get rid of it. M plus 3 equals 0. M minus 2 equals 0. Therefore, I get a -3 and a +2. Those are the two answers for that one. Okay, now 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. What I have to do for this is I have to use the quadratic equation. I have to identify my A, my B, and my C. Now that I have identified all three of those, I'm going to plug it into my equation. X equals -b plus and minus the square root of b squared, so -3 squared is 9, minus 4 times my A times my C. The whole thing divided by 2 times your A. Okay, now I'm going to simplify this. 4 times 2 is 8 times -5 is -40. 9 minus -40 is the square root of 49. 9 minus that -40 gives me +49. So I'm going to have 3 plus and minus, because negative and a negative is a positive. Square root of 49 all over 4, which equals 3, plus and minus 7 over 4, which equals 10 over 4. 3 plus 7 divided by 4. And 3 minus 7. This simplifies to 5 over 2, which is one answer. -4 divided by 4 is -1. There's my second answer. Those are my two answers. Okay. Next question on here. There's two more. X squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. I can factor this. Two numbers that multiply together to get 3, add together to get 4 are +3, +1, giving me an answer of -3 and -1. And then for my last one, I have to use a quadratic equation. So I'm going to say x equals -b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 2 times -20. Whole thing divided by 2a. Okay, and then I'm going to simplify this. 4 times 2 is 8 times -20. -169. 9 minus negative, I'm sorry, -1, it's 160. Sorry, I was doing 9 minus -160 is the square root of 169. So you have -3 plus and minus square root of 169 all over 4. Square root of 169 is actually 13. So you have -3 plus 13 over 4 and -3 minus 13 over 4, which is going to give me 10 over 4, which is 5 over 2. That's one of the answers. This is going to give me -16 over 4, which equals -4. There is my other answer. Okay, that was with the quadratic. Now, for these next questions, it's pretty simple. You have a point here, 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 and here. Question is a couple things. Is this a function? If there's no repeating x's and it passes the vertical line test, yes, this is a function. What is your domain? That's all your x numbers. So what's your x number here? -1. What is your x number here? 0. What is your x number here? 1. And your x number here? 2. What is your range? Your range is how far you went down here, which is -2. Your range right here is +1. And your range is 0, because you're 0 on the y for both of these. So that's your range. A lot of people put like x is greater than or less than. That is incorrect for these. And if you got all of these were worth 2 points for every one. Okay. Here is the next one. Is this a function? No, because look, it has repeating x's, or it doesn't pass the vertical line test right here. So the answer is no. But what's your domain? What all your x numbers? This is -1. This is 0. And this is 2. What is your range? Is 0 on your y. This point is 1 on your y. And this point all the way up here is 4 on your y. All right. Okay. The next question. This one is when it gets a little more tricky. This is not a function because it has repeating x coordinates, because it does not pass the vertical line test. This is not a function. Now, what is your domain? It looks like the biggest number is 3, and then it goes to the left forever. So any number less than 3 would lie on this. Like if you were to plug in a -1, you would go up and hit the graph. This point, this quadratic goes from -3 and less than. So x is less than or equal to, not -3, 3. Because 3 is the biggest number, and then any number to the left, because this goes to the left of 3, would satisfy a point on the domain. The range is how far does this go up and down? This goes down forever, even though it's diagonal, still goes down. This goes up forever, even though it's diagonal, still goes up forever. So your range is all real numbers. And then the last one. This is a function. What is your domain? How far does it go left and right? Forever, all real numbers. How far does that go up and down? Forever, all real numbers. That's the last one. All right. And now we are getting to graphing these quadratics. The first couple are pretty simple. This is going to be y equals 3x squared. Your vertex, since there's no numbers after your x squared, your vertex is here. This is your shape, which is your a. That means you go up 3 over 1 initially. So your vertex is 0, 0. And your axis of symmetry is the imaginary line that goes straight down. But for the test, you had to give me an equation. X equals 0. That is your axis of symmetry. Some people just pointed to it. I needed the actual equation. Or some people just said the AOS equals 0. I knew what you meant by that, and that was fine as well. Okay, for the second one, y equals -1/2 x squared. Your vertex is 0, 0. This is going down a half, not 1, not down 1 and over 2. This is going down a half and then over 1. Down a half and over 1. The result is going to be a little wider. Why is it going down? Because it's a negative. And then your axis of symmetry is still, boom, x equals 0. Or some people wrote it as AOS equals 0, which is fine. Okay, For this next one, you have to use the equation x equals negative b over 2a to find your x coordinate. X equals negative b over 2 times your a, which is going to give me 8 over 2, which is equal to 4. That's your x coordinate. And you're going to plug 4 back into the equation. So x squared minus 8 times x plus 13. This gives you your y number. 4 squared is 16. Negative 8 times 4 is negative 32 plus 13. Y equals 16 minus 32 is negative 16 plus 13, which is equal to negative 3. 4, negative 3. There's your vertex. Your axis of symmetry is going to be the x number, which is x equals 4. Now, we're going to go up 1 over 1 initially on both sides, and we're going to graph it like this. Okay, now, the next one, we're going to do the same thing. X equals negative b, negative 8 over 2 times a, which is negative 2, to give me x equals negative 4. We're going to plug a negative 4 back into the equation. Negative 4 squared minus 8 times negative 4 minus 13. This is going to give me negative 4 squared is 16. Negative 8 times negative 4 is positive 32 minus 13. Negative 16 and a positive 32 is a positive 16 minus 13, which is 3. Negative 4 up 3. Your axis of symmetry is x equals negative 4. We're going to go down 1 over 1 on both sides. Boom. Because your shape is a negative. And the last 2 questions on the test. The last 2 questions. Y equals x minus 3 squared plus 1 and y equals 1/2 x minus 4 squared minus 2. So your vertex here is, it's the opposite, 3, 1. It's the opposite of this number. And your shape is 1. So 3, 1. Your axis of symmetry is your x number right here. And then you go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. This is for that. The last one, your vertex is 4, negative 2. 4 and negative 2. Now, your shape is 1/2, so you're going to go up 1/2 and over 1. Up 1/2 and over 1. There it is. Your axis of symmetry is x equals 4 right here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the test explanations.